All right, welcome. Here come the Irish. I'm Michael Owens.
I'm Nick Southwood.
Here at halftime of the Notre Dame Syracuse basketball game before all the NFL games get started today. We've got a great interview start off the year. Hopefully, we can have some interviews maybe once every week or every 2 weeks. But we got Justin Utupo here on the line. We've got a lot of great questions to ask him. How are you doing today, Justin?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on, Mike
Yeah,
and Nick.
appreciate it. Real appreciate you finding time out of your busy schedule to come on the show for us.
Oh yes, anytime. I love talking Notre Dame. I love giving back and reaching out and connecting with new people. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just get started. I know I kind of sent you the question, so you got a general idea what we're going to ask you. But the first question right off the bat is, why did you choose Notre Dame? I know you had some offers and other schools that you're interested in.
Oh yeah, so Coach Polian, who now is on staff as the special teams coach,
Yeah.
he was my recruiter. He recruited me, and he did a good job of persuading me and getting my parents and my head coach to see the opportunities that Notre Dame had for me and my future. And so after a lot of thought and prayer and consulting with my parents and my coach, it was just too good to be true, getting that offer. And when you write down the list of pros and cons with the top 5 schools that I had, there were so many good things to say about Notre Dame that I had, that it was a no-brainer. And so then I went on my official visit, and one thing about me and the Samoan culture is family is everything. And so I felt the feeling of a big family when I was on campus. And so it was the best decision that I've ever made in my life. And the opportunities now, post playing and being on campus and being at Notre Dame, I've seen the benefits, and I'm reaping the benefits now.
Yeah, absolutely. A great answer right there. That's kind of the first question we almost start off every show with. A lot of former Notre Dame players, and they basically right on point of why they chose Notre Dame. How often do you keep in touch with Polian that much? He seems like a really, really down-to-earth guy and a really nice guy. I mean, I just see stuff from social media, but obviously a huge football family that he's part of.
Oh, yes. I just saw him and reconnected with him when they were doing their run-throughs before the USC game. They were at West LA College, and he's out there with the specialists and the kickers and punters getting them ready to go. And it was nice to see Coach Polian again, and he's still the same. And, Notre Dame is so lucky and to have him on staff again. And you could see the things that he was able to do with that special teams unit this year, and especially in their punt game. And so, yeah, it was just really nice to see not only just Coach Polian, but even Coach Elston, Coach Kelly, and some of the former players that I used to line up with and go to battle with on Saturdays.
Yeah, Coach Polian, I know a lot of coaches, it's all about production and stuff, what they can provide for the university and just being better coaches. But he seems like he really buys into that Notre Dame mentality, faith, family, Notre Dame, and all that sort of thing. Seems like he really buys into that. He's a really great fit.
Oh, yes, great fit. And going back to when he was recruiting me out of high school, you can tell when a recruiter or a coach is coming there and they're giving their little, their lines about the coming to the university. But with Coach Polian, when you know, and you could really feel that he's a man of his word, and he spoke with passion about the university. And so that played a big role in making my decision. And so, like I said, Notre Dame's lucky to have him. He's a great fit, and I'm excited to see what he can continue to do on that special teams unit.
Hey, so perfect. Just also want to ask you about former players. I know the Colts are playing today, and obviously Coach Polian has his connection to the Colts with his dad being the GM of the Colts for so many years there. Is there any especially players on the Colts that you keep in touch with, like Farley and Nelson, any of those guys?
Yes, Matthias Farley, because we were close in age, and so on social media, just commenting and messaging on certain posts. That's kind of like how a lot of us keep in touch. And so when things happen to some of our brothers, and we've lost a few brothers here since we graduated, everyone seems to reconnect and just check in on everyone and see how everyone's doing. But I'm definitely proud of Matthias and what he's done over there at the Colts. and then not only Matthias and then Quentin Nelson. He was on the scout team my 5th year, and he made our unit good. He challenged us and made it easier for us on Saturdays because I'll tell you the truth. I lined up against Quentin Nelson every day at practice. He gave me a better look than what I saw on Saturday sometimes, actually most of the time. And it's good to see him continuing to dominate at the line of scrimmage, and you could see it at the top, at the highest level in the NFL. He's doing it to some of the best D linemen out there. So hats off to Matthias and Quinn, and good luck to them today. I don't know. Who do you guys got? You think they're gonna take it?
I think the Colts are going to be able to take it. I think as long as Quentin Nelson and all those guys can keep Andrew Luck protected today, I think they'll be able to pick apart the defense there because they could wear him down.
And if you can't tell, we're calling from Indianapolis, so we're a little biased.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Colts too.
Outside of the Colts, actually kind of breaking off topic here, another guy, my cousin and the brother of Nick, he actually works for the Colts, so he's like equipment guys, and he talks to a lot of the players, and he said Quentin Nelson is kind of a little different, kind of funny, kind of quirky guy, and so is Matthias Farley. Seem like they kind of have kind of different personalities, but that's kind of, it makes them awesome too.
He said he likes them a lot. He said they always goof around, but they have a good time. And when it comes Sunday, though, they're there and they work their butt off to be able to get their team to win.
And it's funny you say that because that's kind of like everybody that was in our locker room. You know, we were. It was like when when Brian Kelly and his staff and anyone who was recruited to Notre Dame, they're Notre Dame guys, and they're goofy and real easy going, and like you said, Quinn Quirky, you would never even know he's a big goofball. But when it's time to lock in and knuckle down and focus and go into Saturdays and now then and on Sundays, you can see that mental. Say that again.
Oh, sorry, we just had technical difficulties. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, you can just see that mental and physical toughness that Coach Kelly and his staff has established in his team and in his players, and so yeah, just going back to the recruiting process and recruiting the right guys, the Notre Dame guys like Quentin and Matthias are role models for the university and definitely represent all of us.
Outside of the Colts, are there any other guys you keep in touch with? I know you're still out there in California. Is there anybody else from any other teams or people who might not be in the NFL that you kind of buddies with? Or
Oh, so I've always really been close with my buddy Mansa Iteo. He went from the Chargers, now he's with the Saints. It's good to see him healthy again. And then his brother, Robbie Toma, I was just in Hawaii with him for Kona Schlenke's service last year. And then we were in Dallas not a few days ago, actually. I was out there celebrating New Year's with Jalen Smith, who's probably one of the best linebackers in the country, if not the best. Pretty much staying in touch with everyone in my graduating class and even the classes before and after me. We all kind of just stay in touch. It's that brotherhood, you know, and so it's good to stay in touch with my former teammates and to see them doing well.
Yeah, Notre Dame, great history, recent history of 2 Butkus Award winners, and then as well as when you're talking to Jalen, or do you think this yourself? Do you think he's 100? You think he's 100%? I personally don't watch a ton of NFL games. I'm more college. Even on Sundays, I'm just watching some replays of college. But is he back to 100% or almost there? You think?
Oh, I think he's almost there.
Okay.
I don't want to say he's 100%. I've never suffered a knee injury, but speaking with Jalen, he feels good. But it's kind of scary to say that he's not 100% the way he's been playing out there. But I know I've seen Jalen, watching him on tape after we play on Saturdays. This guy's flying around. You would think he had a cape on. And so I want to say he's close to 100%, and it's scary to even say that.
The awesome thing about that is it's just talent out of Indiana. Normally Notre Dame state of Indiana doesn't produce a whole lot of 4 stars or even 5 stars, if any. It's just cool that he came out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and became a 5-star, one of the best linebackers, if not the best in the NFL.
Absolutely.
All right, so one thing that Michael actually had in common with you is he stayed at Notre Dame, not necessarily going to school there, but he stayed in a similar dorm room that you had there. And I think he has a couple questions to ask you about the kind of experience that you had living there at Dillon Hall.
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah.
I stayed at Dillon Hall for a few days. I played college baseball, but I stayed there for a few days in the middle of the summer for a baseball camp, and it was so hot in there. As well as that was my question I wrote down for you. Do most of the dorms not have AC at Notre Dame?
Yes, most of the dorms do not have AC, like Dillon Hall. So everybody has the big old fans, and it's funny in the summertime. That's all you can hear in the hallways is those big fans going off. And it's the newer dorms that they built that have the AC. So those are the ones that our team would stay in. I'm trying to think of the name of the hall we used to always stay in, not too far from the Goog. But those newer ones had AC. But like you said, Dillon Hall, coming from California and the hot in California and the heat in Indiana is two different things. The humidity and then being in a small dorm room, sharing it with someone else, and you have like a bunk bed. It was hot. And I don't know what room you had, but I was on the first floor, thank goodness. But everyone who lived on the second, third, fourth floor, the heat rises, so they were suffering.
Yeah. Little quick story when we're heading back from our baseball practice or like kind of scrimmages kind of going on throughout the couple days. We were walking back, and but half the group kind of went off on a tangent by themselves. They went to like the front of the Dillon Hall, and all the rest of the group was at the back. And one of the coaches was with us. I don't recall who it was. So half the group had broke off and went to the front of the hall to enter. And so he didn't see where that group went. He's like, I don't see where the rest of these guys went at, but if any of you guys do anything to disgrace this university or this baseball program, I'll personally make sure that you are not recruited by any baseball school to play baseball, and I will call your parents, and they'll come drive here and pick you up. So if that just shows a testament to how strict Notre Dame is on that sort of thing. That kind of shocked me when he said that.
Oh, wow, yeah. Notre Dame and their coaches, they do a great job of keeping everybody focused and focused on why we're there in the first place. You have people from all over the world, all over the country coming to Notre Dame, and they want to get the best education and best athletic opportunities. So there's not a lot of time to goof around, and there's a lot of people waiting in line to be at Notre Dame. So, yeah, your story is. I have a ton of stories like that with my coaches.
So I think I was a junior. I was going to be going in my junior year of high school, and the head coach, Mick Aoki, after we were doing our camp and stuff, said, hey, you guys can just feel free to walk around campus, do whatever you want, watch a Red Sox game, because he was a Red Sox fan. And then one of the other coaches came in there, and he said, oh, no, absolutely not. You guys can't leave the dorm rooms. We don't want you guys getting into any trouble. Do not leave the dorm rooms under any circumstances.
Oh, man.
So speaking of the dorm rooms, man, I know that you roomed with Johnny Romano. How was it living with him?
Man, it was like living with a celebrity, like a superstar on campus. I put Johnny Romano up there with Manti Te'o.
Wow.
How popular he was on campus.
That's crazy.
We had visitors at our dorm every day. It was nonstop, and everybody wanted to come say hi to Johnny. But, I love Johnny, and so did everyone else on campus. And his character, his personality, that's the reason why he was the Leprechaun. And he was the right one for the job, and even to this day, he still represents the university. And I don't know if you saw that college football playoff commercial he had with Stephon Tuitt. You can still see Johnny and his personality still shining, and his love for the university still shows. And I was fortunate to have a celebrity as a roommate.
That's pretty fun. We actually had him on here a few months ago. I've always been trying to meet him in person. He moved out there to Pittsburgh for I think a job out there. So he said he was the godfather of Stephon Tuitt's kids. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, I saw that commercial as well, and I told him here in a few. I think it's 2 years, not next year, but the following year. Notre Dame plays out there. I'm gonna try to hit him up, maybe hang out with him, and maybe Tuitt if I can. But yeah, he seemed a great guy. I loved having him on here, and I saw that just from Instagram that you guys were former roommates. So I thought that was something we could talk about.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. One last thing about Johnny, like people, as we're walking in the quads from the dining halls to class or whatnot, people would have started to approach us, and me, Johnny, and our other buddies would be like, "Oh man, here we go. Someone wants to take a photo, wants an autograph of us," and they go right to Johnny, and then we just keep walking, and we leave Johnny with all his fans.
That's awesome, man. I wish college was longer. I know if it was the same for you as it was for us, that college just flies by, man, even faster than high school.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So hey, one thing. I know we were talking about the dorms and stuff, but one thing that we don't really know that much about is where players live after their early years in school. Do you guys live in the dorms your entire career there? Are you guys allowed to move off campus? Like, what's the how does that work?
Technically, we're not allowed to until our senior year to move off campus. There are because we don't get the money and the housing checks until our senior year. So if you're able to afford living off campus and until your senior year, then a lot of players definitely moved off campus early, even as early as their freshman year. And not too far away, we had people living in the Eddy Street Commons. Not too far away from that on Minor Street, I lived in a house there, and we even on Minor Street there in South Bend was actually the football house my last 2 years. So we actually had a bunch of football houses, but it's just something that a lot of the players do, just to have their own personal space. And like I lived in Dillon Hall, and not having AC, it's kind of hard to keep some of the players in those dorms year round.
Yeah, I know what you mean from experience. That kind of segues into our next question. You might have answered it. You said that they had the players' houses and stuff like that. So is that where you guys go back to your houses and stuff after victories? Where are the celebrations at? How's that work?
Well, that depends on the outcome of the game. But win or lose, we all kind of got together at one of the players' houses, and we just kind of celebrated together as a team. And then we always would go out afterwards, or we would stay in the whole night. It was sometimes more safe to just stay home. And that's one thing that I really liked about Notre Dame is we didn't have to go anywhere to have a good time. Kind of just being there with your brothers and your teammates was kind of all you needed. And if we went out, then we went out. If not, we stayed in. But if we did go out, everyone kind of looked out for each other, and even our fellow classmates and the domers on campus and all the people in town for the game, we never had any issues when we went out. Everyone loved us, and everyone wanted to show us a good time and congratulate us, and would always be there to pick us up if it was a tough loss. So one of my favorite memories of a post-game celebration was after we shut out Michigan at home, 31-0. Actually, it was 37, but 31-0. I think that was probably one of my favorite post-game celebrations. Just the atmosphere that night, you could feel it all the way until Monday, and then the weeks to come, you just felt that buzz on campus after that victory. So, good time.
Yeah, with all due respect to playing the Miamis of Ohio or Navies and stuff at home, when we play like Michigan or USC or Clemson here in a few years or Georgia, it's just
Stanford.
Yeah, it's just a different atmosphere. I wish the games were deafening loud every game, but obviously those huge games are just something special about them. And yeah, the victory afterwards, I bet that's just awesome feeling.
Oh yeah, nothing like it.
So another question I kind of have for you, it might be like a tougher question, but I'm sure you've already seen it. When you were there, was there like a detailed nutrition plan? Because I know, like watching some of these episodes on TV about Alabama and Clemson, I mean, they have steaks and they have milkshakes every time they work out, and it's like crazy. I mean, this is just a few years. I mean, this is current, so it's been a few years since you were there. But I'm just wondering, was it that crazy at Notre Dame? Because I heard on the Brian Kelly radio show one night heading back home, he said one of the players eats a lot of like Hardee's and McDonald's and stuff like that. I'm like, shouldn't they be eating some crazy nutrition plan or something like that?
No, they definitely kept us on a nutritional plan. It all depends if you needed to lose weight, gain, or maintain. And we had training tables, and so during summer camp and things like that, all our meals were made for us. Not made for us, but we had the training table. And then during school and when we were in season and we had class and stuff, we kind of ate on our own throughout the day. And then we had training table for dinner. So I'm not going to lie, eating training table so much, you do go run off into McDonald's and order some McDonald's breakfast.
That's just a part of that's just a part of college. We all get sick of our cafeterias wherever they're at.
Oh yeah, and we were always at Nick's Patio too. Shout out Nick's Patio if it's still there. I haven't been on campus in about 2 years.
Is that place open like 24/7? Because I saw one of the former Notre Dame women's basketball players was up there for Muffet McGraw's like 900th win, and that might have been the place they were eating at like at 4 a.m. I'm not sure. That sounds familiar, but I got to try it out.
I want to say it was 24/7.
Okay, that might have been it. Yeah.
Would go.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. We would always get the. I can't even tell you right now what it's called, but it was a lot of eggs on top.
It looked like they had some like chicken tenders or something like that, and they looked awesome. And it was getting me hungry. So, yeah, but you're right about that. We all get tired of our cafeterias and have to go eat out every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking
yeah.
speaking of going out every now and then, obviously when you were at Notre Dame, you got to play at some really amazing places. You know, AT&T Stadium, Yankee Stadium. Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, Michigan State, all those kind of big stadiums. What do you think your favorite place to play outside of the University of Notre Dame was?
Definitely loved playing at the Big House. The fans didn't like us. We came out of this small little tunnel, and they'll let you know whose house it was until we started playing. But playing in the AT&T Stadium, being there not too long ago, a week ago, for the Clemson Notre Dame game, the big old screen, oh my goodness, playing Florida State in Tallahassee when they had Jameis Winston, that was fun. I remember when Corey Robinson scored that touchdown at the end, and you couldn't hear a pin drop in that stadium. And as soon as that flag came out in the back of the end zone, that place erupted. And I remember that being a really fun game. And then Michigan State, playing the Spartans, their grass was the best grass we've ever played on. And playing at Stanford, that was probably the worst grass we've ever played on. We had to change our cleats. It was just very slick. And so I was just fortunate to travel pretty much all around the country. I mean, you mentioned playing at the Yankee Stadium, and we're here playing in the Coliseum. That's one of the benefits of going to a place like Notre Dame is you get to play everywhere. You're not just in one area of the country. And so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about it is, too, when you play a lot of those neutral site games, it's got to give you guys a good mindset when you see, like this year, for instance, there's more Notre Dame fans in New York than there were Syracuse fans, and go all the way out to San Diego, and the stadium's like almost full. All the way out in San Diego, then back to USC, and there's like 40% Notre Dame fans there, and just how well Notre Dame fans travel no matter where it's at. It's just crazy. I think I saw a stat that there's like even more Notre Dame fans in California and New York than there are like in Indiana. That's crazy. But you're talking about that Michigan game. That's what we had Johnny Romano on here, and he said that was the loudest that he's ever been to, which makes sense because there's 115,000 people there, and that's on my bucket list for next year. I'm definitely going up there to that the game at Michigan. I'll try to find where the Notre Dame fans are sitting at, so I don't get too much stuff thrown at me or yelled at me. But that's on the bucket list, and I try to go to about 1 or 2 road games a year. So next year I'm going to Louisville, then Michigan. And then this year I went to Northwestern. The previous year, like you said, Spartan Stadium in Michigan State. Got to go to that game. I was up in kind of the top section, and then once Notre Dame started laying the hammer on him, I got to move down to like the first row, and all the Michigan State fans left.
Oh, nice.
And then the one last thing I want to mention that you talked about was the Florida State game. when we had Cam McDaniel on here, I'm sure you're familiar with him. We talked about that Florida State game for about 10 or 15 minutes. That's something we can kind of go into, but I would not like to because we could just talk about how bad of a call that was at the end. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, we'll save that one.
All right, so obviously with all the cool places you played at and all the different kind of conditions and stuff like that, one of the coldest games in the history of college football was outside when you guys played at BYU. I think we kind of just wanted to see, like, obviously you being from California, where it's, sunny and 75 all the time, how it was trying to adjust to that super cold atmosphere there at BYU.
At Notre Dame, 2013. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was fun. You didn't see Cam McDaniel's photo that was all over the internet?
Yeah.
His helmet came off, and he's just having the time of his life. It was cold. And if you played in the cold, like, your hands, a lot of our players, we would get the latex gloves that our athletic training staff, we would wear those underneath our actual football gloves. And it was just one of those games. It was fun being a part of. It was senior night. The snow started to fall, but it wasn't fun to play in. It hurt every hit. Couldn't feel your fingers. But that's the elements, and you got to be ready to play in any kind of condition. And I think even with Notre Dame that week, I want to say we had the indoor facilities, but we practiced outside a couple times, and that's just to prepare for the elements that we were going to see on game day. So I think we were more than ready, and it was a tough game against BYU, but it was senior night, and it was a great way to win at home on senior night.
Yeah, I went there. I was at that game with one of my friends, and if you go to one of those games, you're not playing in person, I would strongly recommend not to wear tennis shoes, to wear boots. I had like 3 pairs of socks, and the bathrooms were full of people just rubbing their feet because it was so cold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are standing by the hand warmers, the dryers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're just out.
And then me and Nick today, we went there to the Florida State game here. It was about a month or so ago, and we did not make that same mistake. We had like 3 pairs of socks with huge, biggest boots we could find, like two layers on. We had everything, a hand warmer. So I made sure that I didn't make the same mistake that I made during that BYU game.
Oh, yeah, you definitely layers is the key. Layer up.
So, one of the other things is obviously you being in California, and kind of Michael hit on it earlier, obviously when you play in the Coliseum or play USC, anything like that, having all of those Notre Dame fans there. How often in California do you normally see people wearing Notre Dame stuff? I know it's they're supposed to be big USC fans, but you see a lot more Notre Dame fans than expected down there.
Yeah, so I'm around my family a lot, and they took all my Notre Dame gear that I ever got. So I'm always seeing Notre Dame gear when I'm with my family. But you'll be surprised just walking around, even at the mall, or if you go out to the movies, you'll see 1 or 2 people representing Notre Dame, and that's that brand. It's worldwide. It's a big community. And when I was at Notre Dame, Bennett Jackson, one of our captains, I remember at a pep rally, he was like, "What up, ND Nation?" And it's exactly right. He was exactly right when he said nation. It's Notre Dame Nation, and we're everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went to college for a few years in Kentucky. It was like 6 hours away from South Bend, and every day I'd see like 4 or 5 people wearing Notre Dame gear. I mean, some people, I think Notre Dame is almost like a brand in itself. Like, it's just like a fashion brand, too. Like, some people see those colors and just wear them, like, who aren't even sports fans. Sometimes you'll say, go Irish, and people are like, oh, I'm wearing Notre Dame. I don't realize. But other times you'll say go Irish, and they'll be big, huge fans. I've seen, since Notre Dame was in the playoffs, I've seen a ton of Notre Dame gear recently, and it was the same back in 2012 when they went to the championship. I mean, I see it a lot in general, but more, especially when they're doing even better.
Oh, yeah. And even in all the local Irish pubs and things like that, places like that, they're always representing Notre Dame. And I will mention that there are, I want to say, 2 Notre Dame high schools here in California. And so they're wearing their Notre Dame high school gear, and it looks just like Notre Dame University.
Do they play? Do you know if they play the Notre Dame fight song too as well? They got all that theme going.
Uh, I'm not sure. There's one in Riverside, Notre Dame in Riverside, and then there's a Notre Dame in Sherman Oaks.
Okay, gotcha.
Right on.
And
So,
so I'm not sure. Yeah.
so you were talking about obviously earlier when playing with the huge jumbotron there in Dallas. We kind of also had a question there for you on your thoughts on the upgrades to Notre Dame Stadium with the turf and the new jumbotron and all the new buildings and stuff they have on them. What your thoughts are about the kind of new atmosphere that they've created there at Notre Dame's field?
Where was it when I was there? No, the jumbotron I think is great. Not only for the fans, but even the players. I mean, there's times where we're waiting on a call and we want to see the replays, and we would all try to go run over to the side right there on the corner on our sideline. There was a little TV screen, and everyone would try to go huddle over there and kind of see the replay. And I think it's just great for the atmosphere. And I was fortunate to play on the grass at Notre Dame and my fifth year on the turf. And so one of the benefits of having turf is that's all we practice on in our indoor facility and in our practice field. We were mostly on the turf, so it just made sense for us to play at home on the turf. So, and then another thing that I liked my fifth year was we were able to practice inside the Notre Dame Stadium more now that there was turf. And Coach Kelly talked about protecting our house, and it's kind of hard to go line up on Saturdays in the stadium that you hardly are ever practicing in, so it was good to be inside of Notre Dame Stadium for more practices because it felt like we were defending home turf more so when there was turf.
Yeah, obviously you couldn't do as much to tearing up the grass before. That's a big advantage. I mean, a somewhat of an advantage having practice on turf and have the stadium full of turf, so you're completely used to that. I saw before the Cotton Bowl game that they had these big machines, and they were going over it for probably like 10 or 12 hours, just refining the turf and stuff, just making it look perfect and stuff. I think that turf's really awesome, especially flashing back to that BYU game in 2013 at home. I mean, there's some patches of dirt there, and it just didn't look pretty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I remember we played Arizona State in the AT&T Stadium, and that field, that turf, even that year when we played, you can fly. You have an extra gear on that turf. I don't know what they put in that thing, but that was the fastest I was ever moving.
I feel you, yeah. Another question we have here for you. Let's see. In general, we've talked about a lot of stuff today. Maybe one or two of your favorite memories all time at Notre Dame?
Oh, it has to be graduation. When you're there with your brothers and you get to walk and get your diploma and all the hard work, and it's tough being at Notre Dame. We talked about the weather and the elements, and you don't really dig deep into the schedule of a Notre Dame student athlete. It's a full-time job, and we're going through it. With everyone in that locker room is going through the same struggles, and we struggled together, and that's probably one of my best memories was graduation day and seeing all my brothers graduating. I think no one will ever be able to take that diploma away from us.
Completely agree with you. Me and Nick both know the feeling you're talking about, and also kind of sad too as well, knowing that your years are up in college and you got to move on to the real world. But yeah, definitely humbling into your time at Notre Dame, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So then I know you kind of discussed earlier about, I believe you said you were at the Clemson game here, but we just wanted to kind of see if you were able to make it to any of the Notre Dame games this year. I know you said you haven't been to campus in about 2 years, but just to see if you were able to make it to any of the games this year.
Yeah, so the Clemson game last week, and then I was in San Diego when they played Navy, and then also at the Coliseum when they played USC. So I got to see the boys play 3 times this year, and it's a different Notre Dame team. Even during their run-through practice before they played SC, it was the most focused group I've ever seen. And hats off to the coaching staff for getting the boys ready to go. I know they struggled versus Clemson, but Clemson's a hell of a team. They got when they can protect that quarterback and when they can find a weakness in the defense, the secondary. You saw how good of a player that quarterback was. So it was just nice to see them 3 times, and that just goes back to how Notre Dame traveled all around the world, and for them to be in California twice this year, and me living here in California, it was like Christmas for me when I heard they would be in California twice.
Yeah, it looks like obviously you were talking about coaches getting them ready. So I guess you know a little bit about that yourself. If you could just enlighten us a little bit about your coaching career there at Millikan High School. Looks like you had the team before you stepped in was the 1-9 team, and then you went 17-6 after. That's kind of a really great testament to your knowledge of the game and your ability to coach. Just kind of talk on that a little bit if you could.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to coach ever since my 5th year at Notre Dame, being the old head, the grandpa in the locker room. I've mentored a lot of the younger incoming freshmen and the freshmen who were there. So I kind of just grew a passion and love for coaching. And so I knew once I was done playing that I was always going to coach, and I wanted to coach at the highest level. But I wanted to first go back home, in particular Long Beach, where I played high school football, where I learned the game. And my little brother, while I was at Notre Dame, was in high school, and I heard about all the changes going on at the high school level. I wanted to go back home and see for myself what were the issues and what were the struggles that this generation was going through. And that's one of the big reasons why I came back home to coach and wanted to start at the high school level. And Millikan had a ton of athletes who had a ton of potential, but there was no structure. And so I implemented some of the stuff that Coach Kelly and his staff taught me, my high school head football coach, their philosophies, and it's really not that hard. If you pay attention to the detail, you give the kids some structure, because a lot of these kids don't have that structure at home. And so I was fortunate to have a good supporting staff, and my time coaching at high school, I learned and grew so much, not only as a coach, but as a human and as a father. You know, I have a daughter now, and I'm ready to move on to the next level, and that's kind of the phase I'm in right now, the transition from high school to college.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You know, getting back into coaching wise, obviously I would assume if Notre Dame ever came a calling that you would for sure take that opportunity to go back there, but just wanted to see if you had any future plans of going back into coaching at that higher level there at college.
Definitely. If the opportunity presents itself to go back home to Notre Dame, I would love to go back and be a part of Coach Kelly's staff and give back to the university and help them get past teams like Clemson in the playoffs. So we'll see. I don't want to say who I've been kind of talking to, and I'm just gonna, when the time comes, you'll see on social media. I'll post where I'll be, but I'm kind of keeping my options open right now, and hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll be able to let you guys know where I'll be.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. We'll be looking out for you. See where you make a decision. And kind of going back to being the high school coach, I played college baseball for a few years. I transferred back home. Then I came here. Been coaching about 3 or 4 years at my high school at the varsity level. And like you said, there's a lot to be said for just hard work and discipline. I know it's 2019 now, and society's kind of got a little soft. And I don't mean that means you have to yell at kids or anything like that, but just be disciplined. Show up, get the job done. Work in the weight room, be disciplined on the field, have a good baseball or football IQ, whatever it is, do the right plays. And if you don't have the talent, that's one thing, but not hustling and not giving it your all and not just having good coaches and a good system in place is what it's really all about.
Yeah, you're right on with that. Just it doesn't take talent to be on time and give effort, and that's what I try to tell my athletes all the time, and so you're right on with that.
The hard thing for coaching wise today is just there's so much stuff going on here in the year 2019. You can't really force kids to show up to lifting and stuff, but we've got that under control where I'm at too, getting them to show up and hard work and rooting out the kids who are lazy and don't want to show up and give it their all and not want to be there all the time. Being 15 minutes early is being on time, that sort of thing. So actually at my high school, we were able to win. It's called sectionals here. It's like there's about 7 or 8 teams. And we won that for the first time in probably 17 years. And that was just probably one of the best moments of my life and just sports in general. So, yeah, like you said, just being able to help kids. Like they don't have sometimes they don't always have the best support system at home, but just teaching them hard work, whether or not they go on to play college sports or just what it takes to be hard work and be successful in life.
Hello?
I'm sure you dealt with that yourself.
Oh, yeah. And one last thing I'll say is with the kids, they're smart. They'll realize and notice right away if you're a coach that's there just for football to build your reputation, or if you're actually there for the kids. So that's one thing I wanted my staff to understand is during the interviewing process, I asked them, "Are you here for football? Or are you here for the kids?" And so I think that's what helped me and my staff and helped Milliken get to where they are now. And winning consistently, both on and off the field and in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree with you more right there. The last question that we kind of have written down here, and we can talk about whatever else you want to, but I saw that your profile pic looks like you're like on like a radio or podcast show. Do you have any podcast or anything you do on the side?
Oh, yes. So Dash Radio is Island Block. Island Block Radio on Dash. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dash Radio. It's kind of like iHeartRadio.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be beginning in the next few weeks here in January my show called Coach's Corner. And,
Okay.
We just briefly spoke about our coaching in high school, and we both know that coaching is, the universal language of change and growth. And so Coach's Corner, we focus on covering sports, but we also highlight individuals who in our corner that have helped us to grow and learn more about ourselves and our purpose. So we kind of, on the show, we want everyone to have the tools and, the resources to improve their way of living, whether it's as an athlete, a business professional, father, you name it. So that's what Coach's Corner is all about. And I'm excited for it for the show to release in a couple weeks.
Okay, yeah, I'll be looking out for that as well as where you'll be furthering your coaching. That kind of reminds me of when I had Cam McDaniel on here. He talked a lot about just being the underdog and working hard. He was underrated, I'm sure, if you know anything about him. And now he's kind of doing, we kind of got into more details about it, but doing public speaking and motivation, going around to different high schools in Texas and stuff. So they're kind of all in the same theme. Everyone who played at Notre Dame or supports Notre Dame knows what it is to be a hard work and do it the right way.
Oh yeah, Cam is McDaniel is the right man for that. If anyone is going to motivate a room full of, you name it, young youth or even grown men and women, he's the man. He's the man for it.
Yeah, even after I got off the podcast, man, he was talking my head off, which I was loving everything about. Whether you coach like I do baseball or football, whatever sport it is, man, it just got me ready to run through a wall. He's a really awesome guy. I'm glad we got to talk to him as well as you.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So you got any more questions, Nick, or anything off the top of your head you want to ask him about? You're maybe thinking that got in your head?
Not really, man. We greatly appreciate you being on here. I know it's we try to get in contact with some people, and it's really awesome that you guys are that big of, your love for Notre Dame is that big that even just a couple random guys like us that are doing a podcast, you'd be able to hop on here and talk with us about it. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I really appreciate you guys having me on your show, and I see your following growing on social media, and I just want to let you guys know to keep it going. We need more people like you who love the Notre Dame and want to represent them, and bringing guys like me on and some of my former teammates. That's kind of what it's all about, is sharing those stories and continuing the tradition and love for Notre Dame. So,
yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've seen you've been following me even before I reached out to you. I appreciate that. And yeah, the goal of these pages is try to get as many people on here as we can and get a large following. And I'm kind of trying to see things in the middle. Obviously, I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I'm biased. do some sports writing as well. But I would not say I'm Desmond Howard, who picks Michigan to win every single game no matter what and picks Notre Dame to lose. But I try to kind of be in the middle of the line, not try to be too critical or too biased, kind of just say how it is. So I definitely want to kind of be a voice for Notre Dame Nation and just a place where everybody can talk and kind of grow the fan base. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, keep it going, man. I'll be following.
All right, if you can stay on the phone for a second, we're just going to wrap up our show. Thanks for watching, guys. Our first podcast here of the new year. Really appreciate it. Justin Utupo, former Notre Dame player, on here. Hopefully, we'll get to have him on here down the road as well. Anything you have to say, Nick?
No, just thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time here on Here Come the Irish.
Thank you very much.